Hello, this is Julia C. Welcome to 408 Home and All. Now, many people are asking recently, they say the interest rate's been up so much, the housing price is not dropping. Should I wait or should I buy now? And also some investors say they have some money and they wanted to investing is a good idea to buy investment in the Bay Area, or should they just put the money in the city? So I wanted to share some data with you today. So hopefully it will answer all these questions. So first of all, we go to the Fed website. This is the Federal Reserve economic data for the United States. And what you see here is 30 years mortgage rate fixed, 30-year fixed. So if you look at the chart, it's like obviously up here is like 90, 81, we are the interest rate like 18%. And now we are about 7%, but it's like what, 20 years, the highest since 2001 or around 2001. Okay, so it's like 20 years. We are the highest now. So based on this interest rate, so if the theory is if the higher the rate, the lower the price. So what is the housing price looks like in 1981? So let's go back to the Fed for the same period, 1970 all the way until now. So if you look at the chart here, 90, 80, 81, it's not noticeable dropping in terms of house price, right? So it's like steadily going up until like 2006. Then you are kind of obviously seeing this drop, and now it's back up again. So it looks like the interest rate, higher interest rate, it does not affect the price that much from the chart here. Now, why is that? For one thing, let's look at the California Association of Realtor, a recent report. It shows in September this year, the all cash buyer 27.9%. Now, no matter how high the interest rate it is, a cash buyer, they don't need the interest rate. They don't need to get a mortgage. So that's 28%, pretty high, almost 28%. So this is not going to affect them, for one thing, right? Okay, and then also the housing supply. Look at the supply. We are dropping since 2008, like keep dropping. The housing inventory keep dropping. So the housing price depend on the supply, and the other side is the demand. So the supply is keep going down. So, and then we have to look at the demand side. Are we having a lot of people buying, need a house? Now, forget about if you Google how many people illegally cross our border coming to the United States every day. There's a lot of people. All these people coming, we need a home for them. And what about H-1B? Like we have in this area, a lot of H-1B would like to work for the high-tech company in our area. Now, of course, United States has a limited number of H-1B granted each year. But in terms of like registration, the people wanted to come. Look, in 2001, we have 274,000 people registration, and they expect in 2024 going to be 780. That's almost like 2 or 3 times higher. All these people wanted to come. Once they come, they need housing. Okay, so that's given you the supply shortage of the housing and the huge demand coming to this area. That will be some kind of pushing on the price. Now, there's some people also tell me next year, by the end of next year, most company will require workers to come back to the office. So no more work from home. So what's that telling you? If you cannot work from home, you have to go to the office. Now we are located in the job area, right? All this, most of the job are here in the South Bay area. So people will move back to this area, and that will create another demand for the maybe end of next year. I mean, you can verify that if that's true. You can check your company policy. Are they going to force people to go back to work? No more work from home starting like end of next year. If that's the case, you can think about that in our area. The demand would be another high. It would be higher. Now, this is like state national level. Let me show you what I keep track of in the San Jose area. A similar proportion, like a percentage, is similar to other city in nearby. So what I keep track here is the inventory. So in local, this since 2002. This is directly from MLS. Now, this is yearly data. So at the end of 2022, we have 6,903 homes sold. So that's the inventory. Now, if you look at the data all the way down, every number is higher than 6,900 until we see 2007, 2008. Only these 2 years are lower than current. So the inventory is obviously just short. Okay, now let's look at the housing price. Now I'm checking starting 2001. Median price at that time 438,000. This is in thousand, and now it's like about 1.3 million. Now, I want to answer the question is, should you buy or should you wait? Now, in order to do that calculation, I assume that you're going to buy the home and going to stay there for at least 7 years, okay? So now it's 1.3 million. If you're going back 7 years ago, 2016, the median price is 785,000. So that is like about 66% increasing from 2016. 66% appreciation divided by 7, so you got about 9% each year, a 9% increase in housing price. Now let's look at the rent. Now you need to rent, right? If you're not buying, you're going to rent. I'm using rentdata.org. That's the sign for the fair rental market for the government assistance, like housing authority, using this sign to check the current market rent. So based on that, 2022 3-bedroom housing in San Jose rented around 4,000, and going back to 7 years ago, that would be 2016, the rent is $2,777. So that's about 44% increasing. So that means divided by 7 is around 6%. Okay, 6% rental increasing each year. So with that number, rent, or should we rent or should we buy? So we use this Fannie Mae calculator. It has this rent versus buy calculator. It's very simple. You go to the rent. This is the rent, current rent, and then assuming your monthly rent insurance $20, you can say I don't pay rental insurance, so you say 0. And every year you increasing 6% based on our data. And so let's see home purchase. So we're going to buy a house for 1.3. We're going to put 20% down, and then the property tax is that's a 1.25% of the purchase price. So which is 16,250 a year. Home insurance, say 2,000. It can be less. Most people for homeowner policy, it's about like 800,000 for last year or this year. Beginning since AAA is not doing that anymore, and then there's some increasing. So worst case, we put a 2,000 for the fire insurance a year. Maintenance, let's say that's 700 for a simple maintenance, but you can increasing, right? Okay, so let's think about the loan. Okay, loan 30 years fixed 7%, assuming that you have no point, no fee, those like loan origination, and then for the title policy or other fee that totals like 4,000. That's your loan cost. Now, let's assume also you're going to hold it 7 years. Now, each year appreciate, let's say 9%. That was what we have, 9% appreciation. And then 7 years later, you're going to sell the home. Selling is going to cost you money to pay like a commission for the agent and also the other closing costs, let's say 6%. And then assuming stay, if you make 100K or more, single, your stay and federal tax bracket will be 33%. You know, and then assuming that if you don't buy a house, then your down payment will put in the saving account, or let's say that's 6% or 5%. Let's say 6%. It's pretty decent, right? So based on all this data, and then they calculate it for you, and then they will tell you it's a buy. See, look at this. You will save 621,000 by buying a house instead of renting over the 7 years. So that's telling you that. So if you can afford it, buy versus rent. Buying has made more sense according to this calculator. Now, of course, this is just based on what the current appreciation and then the rental increasing every year. You can play around with this. Let's say that, oh, for the next 7 years, the housing is not going to be appreciated that much. Let's say appreciate only 2% or whatever number that you can. And then you say renting makes sense. The 46,000 renting instead of buying. That's because, you know, we have a saving of 6% instead, you know, the money. And then, of course, also the rental may be, you know, instead of 6%, maybe, you know, 5% or whatever. I mean, you can just play around with this number and then you see for your case, it's better to rent or is it better to buy? Okay, so that's should help you answer the question about buying your own home. This is your primary home also, right? Buying, if you can afford it, and it makes sense to buy because this is the home that you're going to stay to enjoy. Okay, so now so that's the, now what about investment, right? Some people say, oh wow, buying for primary home makes sense because you have to live, right, somewhere anyway. Instead of paying somebody's rent, why not pay your own mortgage? Okay, what about investment? Now, obviously, if you buy a home here, 4,000 for rental income for 1.3 million with 7% interest, that you're going to get negative cash flow. It makes sense to investing here. Now, let's, I have this also very cute calculator I want to share with you. Now, this is the purchase price again, 1.3. Now, for investment, need to enter is 25% down payment, not 20%. And then the interest rate is a little bit higher, 8%. And everything else the same. So we just entered a few red colored number, and then we share with you the monthly interest payment is 6,500, but your actual mortgage plus the principal is 7,100. Now remember, that is a forced saving. You got the difference is $654 a month. That's reduce your principal. So that's your equity built up every month, 654 if you buy this investment home. Now let's see this tax saving. Now you pay the interest, annual interest, and plus property tax. Remember 1.25 purchase price per year. That's your property tax. So that's assuming you have 33% tax bracket. If you're higher, then you just change the number. And that will give you a tax saving every month, almost 2,600. So you buying this home, you save 2,600 a month. Plus this is like 3,000 something, right? Now let's look at the true cost of ownership, right? This is your monthly interest payment. And then this is your monthly property tax. This is your fire insurance. So total monthly is the cost is this 7,900. And then let's subtract that tax saving. And then the actual monthly cost is $5,382. That's your net monthly cost of ownership. Okay, so let's go to the rental rent income. Assuming every year you're increasing the rent 6%, and current rent is about 4,000. Now the net monthly cost, this one here is the everything. Like I'm not including this one here, including your mortgage, principal, interest plus insurance and everything. So that's a real everything cost. Okay, it's not, this does not including your tax saving or principal equity build up. So everything. So you negative 4,600. So every year you lost 55,000 for this negative cash flow. Now, assuming you hold it 7 years and every year housing appreciate 9%. So at the end of the 7 years, your house will worth 2.3 million. Remember, you bought it 1.3 and now 2.3. So you'll make $1 million more in appreciation. Okay. Now, if you don't buy this investment, now you put your down payment plus every month the negative 4,600, you put it in the 5% CD, and then you make on the CD over almost 925,000 for the saving. So you still appreciation still more than your saving for buying this home. Now, remember, this is the cost of a monthly is too high. It's not the everything. Let's deduct everything, including the tax saving and everything. So it will be the 24. So this is the true net cost of the ownership. So if you do that, your monthly negative only 1,300. In that case, then your savings is around 600. This one is the true saving for the negative cash amount, because this negative is not including your tax saving as well as the equity build up. So either way is appreciation more than your saving, either both scenario, right? Now, of course, this is based on the rent increasing 6%. Now, this is a worst case scenario, right? Because next year your rent is not 4,000. So you're not negative 1,300 every month. But we're adding that to your future saving account based on this number. But every month the negative will be less, because every year negative will be less because there's appreciation. So this number is the more than it should be, right? More than it should be for simple calculation. So it still makes sense to buy a home instead of putting in a saving account. Now, of course, you are able to afford monthly negative cash flow. So if you can afford monthly negative cash flow, it still makes sense to buy in this area, even it looks so bad, right, on the rental income. But remember, as the time goes by, the housing prices will keep going up. Now, so that's the data that I want to share with you. So in conclusion, if you can afford it, buying is better than renting. And of course, even for investment, buying a home for long term is still appreciated more than you're on the saving. But of course, history data suggests that it does not mean past performance is no guarantee for the future result. So it's very important you consult with a professional to discuss your specified circumstances, okay? So your situation, it will be different from everyone else. So we are here to help you if you need it. And thank you for tuning in, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye-bye.